Hey everyone, welcome on to Branded, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes and beyond the brand. Today, I want to talk about 4 things that can get your business seen and heard. Now, these are pretty simple things, and they very well might be things you're already doing. So, this episode could be a really great reminder for you to go back and maybe tweak, redefine some of these things in your business, or maybe you haven't started doing some of these yet, and now's the perfect opportunity to get started. So welcome on to today's episode. We're going to make this short and sweet. I've been loving these kind of quick, tangible episodes that I've been knocking out over the last couple months, and I'm here for it. I'm ready to do more. So let's dive right in. 4 things you can do to get your business seen and heard. First off, what's your brand? Build your brand. And this is something that isn't going to just like fall out of thin air. It's something that is actually created over time. And now when I say over time, it doesn't have to be over like a year or 6 months. It can be over a couple weeks or a couple months. But it takes time. It's not just like I dream of genie, blink and there, it's done. Now, there are plenty of templates inside of Canva or wherever it is that you like to create, especially in this world of AI that we're utilizing. There are so many templates you can work from, but I would highly encourage you to really discover the brand for your business that is truly unique to you. Because one of the most powerful things that you can do for your business outside of all of the ad spend and the marketing and the fantastic websites and all of these things, one of the most powerful and impactful things you can do for your brand or for your business is having a recognizable brand. Something that when people see it, they recognize the look of it. When they come across your brand, there's sort of a feeling that's associated with it. And that's only going to come through if you infuse your personality into it at least a little bit. I know with my brand in particular, there is a little bit, like some part of it is a very kind of refined and classic look, but there's also this very unrefined and sort of free-spirited side of my brand too, which is me more of, the branding design side of my business is more of the classic, very refined, sort of clean edges. But then the other side of my brand is my personality. And I infuse that. And that's the feeling part, right? That's the part that evokes emotion when people tune into a podcast episode or come across my social media pages or dive into my website, adding images of myself, of me laughing, of me whatever. Like they can be posed, they can be spontaneous, whatever kind of images or videos that you want to use within your brand. Be sure that it's really evoking that kind of emotional connection that you're looking to achieve inside of your business. And so you have to really understand how those things marry together and create a really powerful brand that gets seen, heard, and eventually remembered, right? So a couple simple things you can do is use current photos, as in photos that actually look like you right now today. There are some photos of me that are still out on social media. For example, as I'm filming this today, my profile photo on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like it's the same across the board. Pro tip, make your profile photo the same across all of your channels. So if people find you, it's recognizable and they can be like, oh yeah, okay, it's the same person. But like I said, use a current photo of yourself that actually looks like you right here, right now. The photo of me in that was like a year and a half ago that I took that photo, but it still looks like me. Like I have my hair clipped the exact same way in that photo. I still wear my hair that way. I wear my makeup pretty much the same way. I haven't really gained or lost any weight since that photo. Like I look the same. So it's okay that the photo's still there, but I am kind of getting the urge to change it because it's been up there for about a year and a half. But using photos of yourself that actually look like you is one of the simplest things you can do for your business. So that way it's recognizable. I mean, wouldn't you hate it to get on a Zoom with somebody, like a client call or consult, situation where you get on and you see the other person on the other side and you're like, who is this? This looks like nothing that I've seen on their socials. This doesn't look like their pictures on their website. Like, that's a little disheartening. So look at the stuff that you have out there right now and make sure that the photos are actually you. And if you're utilizing any kind of AI images or avatar images, use them sparingly. People need to make sure that you're a real human. Like, I love AI and I love the capabilities that it gives us, but don't forget that, like, you're a human doing business with other humans, and they need to make sure you're a real person that they can trust. Something easy that you can do as well, using the same fonts and colors across the board wherever you're presenting your business. So whether that be on social media, whether that be in an email campaign, your website, a blog, like wherever that is, use similar colors and fonts. Like, really stay within that wheelhouse that you've given yourself of the colors that you want your brand to be. Now, it's super fun to play with bright, fun colors, but I would really, from my experience, since doing this work, what I've really come to recognize is that your neutrals are going to be the foundation of everything that you do. So be sure that you pick a couple neutral colors that you really love. Like, I really like to use black and white. For a while, I dabbled with gray, but gray was kind of hard to read or see in certain mediums. And so I decided I'm just going to use black instead of gray because I want it to be visible. I don't want people to be guessing what they're reading or looking at. But if you're going to use like taupes or tans, whites, off-whites, some version of like some shades of gray, give yourself some neutrals to really build a foundation from, and then throw in some splashes of color. I'm currently in a redesign of my own brand, and I'm moving a little bit away from just sort of the blacks and whites and very neutral tones, which I love because there's actually a lot of wiggle room you have within using neutrals. But I'm moving towards like inserting some yellows and some oranges because I really love those colors too. Nature speaks to me. Like, my heart just opens when I'm out in nature. And so I want to bring some of that into my brand. Some oranges, some yellows, some greens, some blues, things that you just organically find outside out in the world. And that's okay to do, right? Shifting your brand when you feel like it's time, go for it. But make sure that across the board, your fonts and your colors are looking very similar, because you want people to feel like they have this cohesive experience. You don't want them to feel like they're ping-ponging around and getting confused as to who it is they're looking at. What's this business again? Why did I land on this page? You don't want them forgetting why they're there. And you want to keep them engaged. So something super simple to do is keeping fonts and colors just cohesive, because then their RAS system in their brain, it's not going to go off telling them that something's changed and something's different. It's just going to keep a sort of even keel as they're consuming the information. Something else you can do for building your brand to making it really recognizable, and this one is probably one of the most important, is refining your voice. So that way, it's clear and easy to understand when you're conveying your message. And when I say refining your voice is in like a little bit in quotes. What is the voice of your brand, right? Is it one of like positivity and empowerment? Is it one of like, we're here to get shit done and implement like yesterday? What is that voice? What's that driving factor that is sort of in your ear as you're reading your own content, as you're sending that stuff out on email? Like, what is the voice that's coming through? Just like anytime you read something, I'm going to jump out on a limb here and guess that I'm not the only one who does this, but if I'm reading a book, I'm following along, I'm reading the sentences through the paragraphs, there is imagery and visualization happening in my mind based on the words that I am reading. That imagery and that vision that I am seeing as I am reading the text on the page So much of what that vision is from the tone of voice, from the words that are written. Handwritten words, pen to paper, that is just as powerful as speaking out loud, allowing your tone, your intention to really flow through to the copy that you have on your website, that you utilize in your social media posts, like all of that. Infuse your voice and your personality into it. The voice of your brand, it is you, right? Let it be heard. And really, if you find that it's not landing for you right now, this is a great opportunity to just refine it a little bit. And there's a couple episodes back that I did an interview with one of my clients, actually. I did some podcast video work for her, and she is phenomenal when it comes to how you present your brand's story and having that voice really infused into all of your messaging and understanding that you can sort of have this brand voice as the overarching umbrella to your entire brand. And you can utilize all of that messaging throughout. Like, you don't have to come up with new shit all the time. Have something really powerful that you love to talk about and keep talking about it. Keep digging into that topic and peeling back the layers and really like giving it the full life that it deserves. You've got brilliant ideas. Let them be heard. Something else you can do for building your brand, make navigating your marketing and your offers as easy as possible. So let me give you an example of this. I am not perfect, and I will never pretend to be so. As I transition my brand and doing some rebranding work for myself right now, I started going back into my bios for social media, and I was checking out some of the links that I have. Because sometimes you can get a little bogged down with the links if you don't have just one, you keep adding more, right? It can get a little bit messy. And that's honestly what had happened to my Facebook bio. I had somebody reach out. She was like, hey, I really want to listen to your podcast episode, but the link didn't go anywhere. And I was like, oh, shoot. But thank you for telling me. I'm not going to feel bad about that. I'm going to go fix it. So immediately I went to go fix it, and I decided, you know what? I don't actually need all of these links. Let me just have this one landing page that has all of my links all in one place. And so there's only one link in bio that I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about all of these others that maybe don't go to the right place, or the link got broken somewhere along the way, things like that. But making sure that your marketing and your offers and the things that you're telling people to go see, watch, do, buy, book, make sure those links work. Make sure your marketing and your offers are easy for people to find. And an easy way to do that is utilizing a tool like Linktree, Milkshake, or if you have a website, right? Build out a page on your website that is just links. That's what I did for mine. With the all-in-one platform that I utilize, I was able to just build an entirely website page linked to my domain. And all it is just designed to look like, the 9:16, I think is the dimension. So it's on your phone. And it's just simple design. Most of it is just black with buttons. That's, listen to podcast, book a call, download this resource, go to the actual website, see all the other stuff, right? But having that one place makes it so much easier for people to navigate anything I'm trying to market or offer. So think about that for yourself. And then, of course, making sure your brand visuals are cohesive everywhere. Like I mentioned before, you don't want to have different profile pictures all over the place, because someone might see your face actually in one of your photos, and then maybe they go to another platform and it's like you and your dog, and they can't really tell that it's you anymore. So keep all of your brand visuals cohesive throughout. Try to really find like a touchstone sort of image. Maybe it's of you, maybe it's of something else, and allow that to really be seen throughout your brand. Something like, if I'm not utilizing an image of myself, but I want to utilize a consistent image, I'm going to use something like a sunflower, because I love sunflowers and it creates a nice cohesion. So decide what that is for you. Is it something in nature? Is it, a laptop? Is it a book? Is it you? what is it? But keep your brand visuals cohesive throughout. All right, next, valuable content. We talked about valuable content recently, and I don't think I'm ever going to stop talking about valuable content, to be honest, because it is something that I wholeheartedly believe creates the most impactful connection and messaging is valuable content. So make sure what you have to say can be easily read and is also visually appealing. I mean, if you have something phenomenal to say, but there's a ton of typos and maybe you're not breaking up your paragraphs and your sentences in a way that like is visually appealing, it's going to be difficult for people to actually consume that information. And more times than not, they just won't, because they're like, this is messy and confusing, so never mind. You don't want people just deciding they don't want to consume the incredible information you have simply because it was hard to read. So make the content that you're creating and the things that you have to say easy to read and visually appealing. Simple as that, right? And of course, making a great user experience, helping them feel seen and understood is such an important part of the equation when it comes to valuable content. You want to give away some of your good stuff, like some of the stuff that you think people should have to pay for. I mentioned this in a recent episode. It's okay to give that stuff away for free. And at the same time, creating a really phenomenal user experience along the way. There is so much power in this, in creating connection and communication. If someone downloads a free resource from you, be sure that that conversation does not end there. Put them in an email sequence that gives them another couple emails that helps them get to know you and your business. Make sure you get notified that they downloaded this thing so you can actually go and thank them personally or connect with them, or at least get into your business and check them out, be like, okay, let me go follow them back on social. Let me get connected with them. Whatever it is, however you run your business, just be sure that you're creating a user experience that helps people feel like they matter. I mean, if they're deciding to give you their phone number and their email address and their name or their credit card, right? That is worth something. That is so worth something. Make them feel seen and heard, And then be mindful of the different ways that people consume information. This is something that I feel like I had to kind of trial and error for myself, because I was torn between wanting people on this one platform so I could really have control over the analytics and the reporting. And what I came to realize was, at least for me, that's not how I like to do things. I don't like having to rip people off of one platform and force them into another just because I wanted the reporting to be in one place. Now, there are plenty of people that do that, and I'm not saying that's wrong to do that. It just didn't feel good to me. It didn't work well for me. And so I'll give you a little bit of an example of what I did with the podcast in particular. When I first started it, my intention was to get everybody into Spotify because I wanted to see what that listener analytic would look like, right? How many listens am I getting per episode? How many people are in the quote unquote audience, right? Following the show, those types of things. But what I came to realize is less people were actually listening to what I was putting out because I was forcing them into another platform. So instead, I just decided, well, fuck it. I'm going to bring the episode to them wherever they are, because people are consuming content in a very different way than they were even just a few years ago. So now my podcast streams right to Facebook, the entire episode. Nobody has to go anywhere else if that's where they like to hang out. It streams straight to YouTube, the entire episode. If that's where people want to hang out, awesome. I don't stream it to Instagram because this platform doesn't do it, but I totally would. It streams to Spotify as a video and as an audio. because you don't know how people want to consume information. Maybe they just want to throw on some earbuds and go for a walk. They don't need to see your face to really understand what you're saying and the intention behind it, right? So use as many formats as you feel comfortable using so you can reach people who are consuming your content differently. Instead of forcing people into a box, just hold your arms wide open and say, look, here's all this valuable shit that I just created, and I really, really think that you're going to get something out of it. Enjoy. It's worked really well for me, and I will say it is more of an organic way of growing your audience and things of that nature. It does make reporting and analytics a little bit different. I won't say tricky, but different. Because now when I go into Spotify, into my analytics section, into the back office of it, there's numbers there, but I have to take into account whatever kind of numbers I'm getting on Facebook, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, things of that sort. And honestly, I'm not much of a reports kind of person when it comes to my business. It's more of a feeling. If I know that I'm having conversations and I'm booking new clients and I'm retaining clients and I'm having good communication with potential future clients, I know that what I'm doing is working. So I'm not going to question it. I'm going to keep leaning in and doing what feels good. All right, another way you can get your business seen and heard, make really clear calls to action. Super fucking clear. Book this call. Buy book call. Go here, do this, tell people. And you don't have to obviously be rude about it, and that's not what I'm getting across, but be very clear with what you want people to do next. Because there's too much guessing going on. Sometimes when people are wanting to do they want you to buy something or book a call or take some sort of action, right? Sometimes it's confusing. It's what is it they really wanted from me? So understand that clever doesn't convert the same as clear. So if you're trying to be super clever with your calls to action, it's likely that someone may not actually understand what you're trying to get them to do. So just be clear about it. Be very to the point, be very concise, and they'll know what to do. And it's either a yes or a no, right? Of course, you want it to be fuck yes, click the button, do the thing. But you don't want people just sort of wishy-wash. We want a yes or a no decision right there. Click the button or don't click the button because you know exactly where it's going to take you. So clever does not convert the same as clear. Have good direction for people. Tell people exactly what they should be doing next. If they want to continue the journey and learn more about what it is that you do, what do you want them to do next? Do they need to book a call? Do they need to drop something in the comments? Do they need to click this link? What is that next thing you want them to do in order for them to continue the journey that they're currently on? Be very, very clear about it. And something that I probably don't do well enough, always room for improvement, is on your website, or maybe it's a landing page or whatever it is you're using for your business, having one call to action per page can actually be really, really powerful compared to having 5 different things that people can do. Because you have to understand, when people are consuming this information, let's say they're scrolling on their phone. You've only got so much landscape, right, to really look and see what's happening there. So if you've got a call to action right at the top of your website, let's say they land on your homepage, what happens on that homepage? I would suggest if you have a promo or something very particular and special that you want to be sure nobody will miss, you put a button at the top of your homepage, on the top of absolutely everything, all the other content, put a button right at the very top. Because when people know what they're going to your website for, they don't want to have to hunt and peck to try to find it. Put it there for them. And so I would suggest on like a home page, it can be a rotating kind of button that offers a free resource. Maybe it's a special you're running on some sort of service that you offer. Maybe it's like your highlight product that you absolutely think everybody should have, and that button never changes, right? Like put the one thing that is the most important to you on that homepage and make sure people see that damn button. Now, when it comes to the rest of that page, you could have buttons that take people places, but I wouldn't suggest having more calls to action that veer them off of their current journey, right? So let's say someone lands on a services page. Well, that services page, those calls to action should be to buy that service. Or if they have to book a call first, before buying the service, then it should be to book that call. But it shouldn't be buy this service. Oh, download this resource. Oh, let's go do this. Let's go do that. One thing at a time. Keep it super simple. The simpler, the better, because you just don't want people getting confused about why they're there and what they're meant to be doing when they're on that page. I'm in the process now with one of my clients. We're going to be revamping her website because she has so much incredible information, but it has gotten to a point where it's a little bit cluttered. And that's okay. It's okay to admit that, right? It's okay that it's time to refine and kind of trim the fat a little bit from some of the stuff that has just sort of over time been kind of piled on top of each other. And now it's time to just sort of peel back those layers and say, okay, what's the core of the stuff that we really want to say? That's what we're going to put on this website. And that's okay. Like sometimes you don't know those things ahead of time and you're sort of building and you're going and you're creating this momentum, and along the way, your information, your calls to action, your services, your products, they kind of snowball and they just get a little bit bigger and you end up with a lot of stuff. And you feel like you have to have a call to action everywhere in order to sell all of these different things. But people get confused by that. So you really want to kind of just like rein it in and really shine a spotlight on the thing that you really want people to focus on when they're on that particular page. Lastly, use social media as the free tool that it is. Y'all, social media is like, I'm not a huge fan of it in general, but I understand its place in my life. I lost sight of that for a little bit, I'll be honest, because I was trying to use social media the way I think like influencers and things like that tend to make us feel like we need to use it. And that's just not how I roll. And so I started using it in a very different way. And now I feel like my relationship with social media is so much better because I'm in control. There is no me feeling like I'm always in the weeds and I never do enough. Like I don't have that feeling anymore because I have decided what boundaries I have with it. And I've decided its place in my business. It's a free ad tool. That is exactly what it is. It's a free ad tool and it's a way to communicate with people all over the world at any time of day. Like it's a resource that you absolutely should be tapping into in a very intentional way. I'm not saying get on there and scroll and waste your time because that's essentially what just scrolling does. Do it with intention. Get on there because you want to connect with a certain type of person, a certain group of people, a certain get really intentional with your time on there because you'll actually start to notice that you'll spend less time on it, but actually get a lot more return when you get more intentional about it. Something with social media to really kind of decide for yourself, you don't have to use all the platforms. Like I would actually encourage that you don't use all the platforms. Use the ones that you like to use, where you like to consume information or where you actually see some sort of return happening for you with the content that you're putting out. So for example, LinkedIn, I utilize LinkedIn as a place that I will pop like my promo reels for podcast episodes and things like that. But I don't do a whole lot more with it because for one, I don't really use the platform personally. And also I've started to notice just with my consistency not even with my engagement, but with my consistency of posting a minimum of like twice a week on that platform, I've gotten like more followers and people engaging with my promo videos for the podcast, in turn, most likely getting more listeners to the podcast because I've just stayed super consistent and I haven't tried to really follow any kind of trend. I just put the information out there because I know someone out there is probably going to see it. And if it resonates with them, they'll engage with it. When it comes to TikTok and Instagram, that's mostly reels as well. Like I don't do a lot of static posts on Instagram anymore. I've decided that my social media is for my business. It is not for myself personally. I tried that for a little bit, but it's just not my personality, and that's okay. Like that's an okay thing to recognize. But understand, like there's so many platforms out there, but really utilizing the ones that you enjoy using and where you know that your ideal clients are actually hanging out, share valuable content on there weekly. Like even if it's just once a week, it keeps you relevant in like the actual algorithm, but also it keeps that level of consistency up. So whatever follower base that you do have, they start to really see your stuff, and it becomes sort of second nature that, okay, every Monday, I'm going to see XYZ from this person, and that's phenomenal. People start to look forward to it, things like podcasts, blogs, posts, videos, reels, like all of these things are ways to advertise for your business. Not everything you do has to be a personal anecdote of, what happened to you when you were dropping your kid off at school. Like not everything has to be that. It can be valuable stuff that actually turns into evergreen content. So if you find yourself feeling like you're on social media too much, it's probably because you're creating you're creating from a place of quantity versus quality. And I was doing that for far too long, I'll be honest. I was posting for the sake of posting. And once I got actually really intentional about what I was sharing and when and how frequently, oh my gosh, like all of that feeling of burnout, it just completely went away because I set those boundaries and I decided, okay, I'm going to do this type of content this many times a week, and that's it. Set that boundary for yourself. You're the fucking boss, right? Who else is dictating that you need to be on there more? I know that there's some coaches and stuff out there that say like you have to post multiple times a day, every single day of the week. Like, I mean, they're not wrong that your algorithm will be boosted when you do that kind of stuff, but you have to think about sustainability for your life. Like, what does your home life look like? What does your work life look like? If you're balancing a 9 to 5 while building a business like I am, I do not have time to be posting multiple times a day, 7 days a week. I need a day off, And so you have to recognize what sustainable content looks like for you. And then, of course, thinking about how quickly social media changes and what might have worked for you last year may not be working for you this year. And so it's okay to kind of make those pivots and adjust, right? Adjust to what is working for you right now. And I'll be honest, whenever I was transitioning my sort of content schedule, and I decided that I was really going to focus all of my content around my weekly podcast, I was a little bit nervous about it because I was thinking, man, these podcast episodes are going to have to be fucking great if I'm going to create a week's worth of content around this one topic. And so at first I felt a little uneasy about doing it. Like, would it be enough? Of course it's enough. Of course it's enough. I was like, I can't even believe I ever felt that way because honestly, every time you have something to share, there is always another layer to that conversation. And so now what I've done for myself is I've gave myself this wide open space to essentially have one powerful topic every week and talk about it all week long. share about it, making sure that people really see it and hear it and eventually remember it, right? And that was one of the changes I made because I saw that what I was doing wasn't really working anymore and it was just making me really busy all the time. And so I had to do something different and I shifted. And I think that in the landscape of social media, at least right now, there's definitely more of a drive for content that is more mindful, more intentional, less like trendy for the sake of being trendy. Like, not that those aren't still out there. Obviously, they are. I only really see my little corner of the world on social media. But from what I see, trends, damn, they fall off so quick. So, like, trying to go viral with something, I just don't see the longevity in it. I don't see the sustainability in it. But what I do see longevity and sustainability in is allowing your content to be a reflection of you and your business right now. That is what's going to translate the most powerfully, because what's happening to you right now, it's relevant. People can relate to it because it might be happening to them too. And that's why when I do these podcast episodes, I know for a fact that I'm going to get at least one person out there in the world that says, damn, me too. Yeah, me too. I needed to hear that. And for me, that's what it is. Like, this is valuable content, and I fucking love bringing this to you guys. So, well, I promised short and sweet. It was short-ish. But these 4 things, building a brand, creating valuable content, clear calls to action, using social media as the free ad tool that it really is, these are 4 things that will absolutely help your business get seen, heard, and eventually remembered. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.